What's up? Hey, hello, everyone. Wow. So today we are back going to be talking about Survivor Season 43. Less than 2 weeks until Survivor Season 43, a little over 2 weeks it might be. We are counting down the days until Survivor Season 43. So for today's video, we are going to be talking about our tribe reactions going through these 3 teams of 6 for Survivor Season 43. So my name is Rachel.
I'm Alyssa, and there are, like Rachel said, 3 teams in this season of Survivor. There's the Baka tribe, which is the yellow tribe, the Vesi tribe, which is the red tribe, and the Coco tribe, which is the blue tribe.
Yeah, and I feel like we said with our cast assessment, tribe reactions, tribe assessment, very similar. We are going off of not much information, so all of our reactions here, mostly based off vibes, based off of those interviews and videos that we've seen, but really, you don't know how these tribes are going to mesh until you get onto the island, until we see the show.
Yeah, like Rachel said, we're kind of just going off vibes. And a lot of times our vibes are wrong just because I feel like sometimes you think people are going to gel a certain way and they just don't. Sometimes personalities clash and you don't really get why they clash. Like it seems like these two should be besties, but they're just not. So take everything we say with a grain of salt. This is just how we think things are going to go down. This isn't meant to be a knock against anyone, etc., etc.
Yeah, so overall thoughts for these tribes, I thought these tribes had pretty even divisions. I feel like they have strong people and then they definitely have some, less strong competitors on each team. So I felt like it won't be, a total blowout where one team continues to keep on losing and they get down to 2 players. But I feel like we might see each tribe go to tribal council at least a couple of times.
Yeah, and I feel like part of that is just because there's no one who's like a Jonathan this season who could like single-handedly carry their tribe. We mentioned that when we were talking about like the people as a whole. I think the one thing is I feel like the people who are like very big characters aren't necessarily spread evenly across the tribes. Like I feel like the yellow tribe has some of like the bigger characters in the game. So it will be interesting to see like how that shakes out as far as screen time, because if one of the tribes is less flamboyant, I guess you could say, maybe they get less screen time just because they're not as interesting to watch.
Yeah, and then that's the case when the boring tribe continues to go to tribal council, and then you're like, no, why can't anyone else lose so we can see some of the other players?
Yep.
So, for the first episode, the title has been released and it is called Live In, which, if you watched our cast assessment video, Cody mentioned that he has a butt tattoo where it says Live In across his butt cheeks. So, that is most likely going to be coming into play this premiere episode if it's called Live In after Cody's butt tattoo. And I wonder, does CBS show butts?
I don't think CBS shows butts. I feel like we've seen blurred butts before.
Yeah, I
Like
think they're
when
all blurred.
like when people like lose their swim trunks or whatever, I feel like we get blurred butts even if it's just from behind. So
Yeah, because like Australian Survivor, Australian TV, they'll show like the butts.
yeah,
But
I do wonder, like, if Cody's going around showing people his tattoo, I feel like that could be a really funny, like, I guess, bit where, like, the dodo music plays in the background as Cody goes around just, like, mooning people. So,
yeah, you can't name the title of the episode Live In, and if he's it has to relate to the butt tattoo, and you can't not show us the tattoo. It's like, you gotta show it.
yeah.
So that is something to look out for, I think, with this premiere episode. For the 3 tribes' names, they are named after types of trees in Fijian, which this information is so hard to come across, which is very odd because all of these professional news articles, they posted the 3 tribe announcement, except they just say the tribe names. They didn't go into any of like the history or background of these 3 tribe names, which is a little bit weird considering it does have that Fijian culture reference. So, Alyssa and I, we did some research here talking about these 3 tribes, which are different kinds of trees. So, we'll go into that a little bit to give you all that history and background. Definitely, if you have any like additions or updates for what we're saying, definitely leave a comment below, because this is all just Googled information that we found. So
yeah, it was really funny because Rachel was like, do you know what these names mean? And I did some Googling and I was like, well, one of these words means water in Estonian, but I feel like that's not the right answer. So kudos to Rachel for figuring out that these were trees in Fijian, because I would not have been able to figure that out with my amateur Google skills.
So we are updating or upgrading our production here, and we're doing another PowerPoint. Yay, how fun.
Yay.
So this is the Baka tree, and so in English it's commonly called the Pacific or Polynesian banyan. So it's also called the strangler fig due to its parasitic nature, which I thought was interesting. So, could the Baka tribe be parasites technically? I wonder if people would know that reference there. And so the Baka tree, it loves latching onto things and taking over, sort of like this picture. There's a ton of vines. It is a very, very big tree. And inside the Baka tree, there is white sap, which is sometimes used for Fijian medicinal purposes.
That is all very interesting. I feel like the comment about like the Baka tribe being parasitic, I feel like they probably wouldn't know that about like the Baka tree, because I mean, I'd never heard of the tree before. You'd never heard of the tree before. So unless one of them is like an expert in Fijian horticulture, I feel like they're probably not going to know what's up with the Baka tree. Though I do wonder whether they named these tribes like before or after meeting the people, because if they had the tribe names before, then it probably just means nothing. But if they had the tribe names after, that would be kind of cool. Interesting to see if they were trying to like slip in some mental mind games.
Yeah, like the Baka tribe are all leeches or goats, and they're going to like ride the backs of the other players.
Yeah, I don't know, because I feel like looking at the Baka tribe, I don't particularly see them as like the leeches or goats. They are the yellow tribe, and they're the tribe I mentioned as I feel like they have like the really big personalities, because there's Mariah, who's like the rainbow girl who has like the rainbow hair, the rainbow jumpsuit. There's Mike Gabler, who has the beard that I love. Owen, who's like he's really similar to Wu in like how he like looks and how he approaches the game, and I feel like that's all like characters that I'm interested in seeing, and like the other people in the tribe I'm also interested in seeing, but like those three were the ones that I was like, oh, these are really big characters who are going to be like maybe taking a lot of the attention of the game.
Yeah, I agree. To me, the people don't necessarily seem like the followers, but more of the leaders for the Baka tribe. So, next up, we have the Coco tribe. This Coco, trying to Google like Coco Fijian tree was so hard to find information on because every single thing just came up with cocoa nut. And so this is our best guess for what Coco means. On the left-hand photo, this is the Cayman Mahaffey. So it comes from the Cayman Islands, and it has huge coconuts near the size of basketballs. And so it's a very large coconut tree. And then on the right is the Fiji Island dwarf tree. It's a smaller coconut palm with these long palm fronds and leaflets, like these long leaves you can see in the photo. They have small coconuts, and it's called the dwarf tree because the fruits, when they're very young, they're like the tree isn't that tall. So people could get the coconuts by hand and they wouldn't need a ladder, but the tree does grow big after, years.
It's interesting because I think when this tribe's name was first reported on Inside Survivor, it was the Coca tribe, Koka, instead of Coco, Coco. And Coca is another name for a kind of a tree. So it's, yeah.
That one would probably be easier to find on the internet because coconut wouldn't just keep coming up on every single Google search.
Yeah, but apparently Coca is a Fijian name for the bishop wood tree, which is a tree that some people consider sacred. So, yeah.
Awesome. That's interesting. So Last up, before we get into the actual teams, we have Vesi. So, this kind of tree produces one of the most valuable timbers in Southeast Asia. The tree is super slow growing, taking 80 to 90 years to mature. And so, in Fiji, the Vesi tree has a huge cultural significance. It was very, very sacred to ancient Fijians, and it's used like as a main pole in temples and houses, used to build the sacred canoe, and also making traditional gongs used to announce important events. And the Vesi tree, it's sort of sad. It is maybe on the route to extinction. And in the photo on the right, this is the tree made into the largest tanoa or kava bowl. And so this bowl was carved from the Vesi tree.
Yeah, so it's really interesting because it seems like all of these trees kind of have different connotations in Fijian culture. And so I do wonder, like, who did the research for this? Like, why these specific trees? So, because I feel like just from my mind, I don't recall having ever like seen these specific trees on Survivor. But it would be cool if it was like, oh yeah, we named the Vesi tribe because their island has a lot of Vesi trees on it, or something like that.
Yeah, which sort of sucks considering all of these professional articles that are announcing the three tribes literally don't say anything about the cultural significance about these three team names and the trees that they're related to. So I guess that's sort of disappointing considering how important these trees are.
Mm-hmm. Just because I feel like one thing that we kind of talk about is how it's sad that there's not as much like cultural sharing on Survivor as there used to be. Because I feel like in earlier seasons of Survivor, a lot of times like a reward challenge would be to go and like spend some time with local people, get to eat local food, stuff like that. And so I feel like they've kind of scrubbed that away from Survivor. And so having even the little bit of Fijian culture that is there also not really talked about is disappointing.
Yeah, so alphabetically into the three tribes. First up is the Baka tribe. In the photo, the back row is Gabler, Owen, and Sammy. And then in the front row, we have Ellie, Mariah, and Janine. So for me, looking at this team, I thought it had the strongest men out of the three teams with Gabler, Owen, and Sammy. It seems like they have like the brawn, but also the smarts to be able to do those puzzles while also doing the physical aspects of challenges, which is interesting because a lot of people on Reddit are saying that the Baka tribe will be the most losingest team.
I find that interesting too, because I feel like it's one of those things where I'm not sure if you're familiar with the term like popcorn muscles, but
Mm.
popcorn muscles are basically like the muscles that look really good, but don't actually help you like do anything worthwhile. Like they're muscles that aren't super strong. Cause I feel like a lot of times what we think of as like strong people, they aren't actually that strong. Like actual bodybuilders are a lot huskier than like movie star superheroes. And so I feel like it's like that kind of thing where they don't have popcorn muscles, but they still look like they're strong.
Yeah, I feel like we see popcorn muscles a lot of times on the challenge. But it's like, you don't need to be looking like Jonathan to be good at challenges, you know? So maybe that's where people online are saying, yeah, Baka Tribe will lose a lot. But for me, I think they have the strongest men on the team. I think if this team divides by who is the strongest, let's vote out the physically weaker players on the team. I could see Mariah and Janine being in trouble there, and they might be voted out earlier if the team separates by strong versus weak.
I do think it's also important that a tribe is like equally strong. Like it's better to have like 6 average strength people than 3 really strong people and 3 really weak people. Because it's like if you have really weak people, they can hold you back if like they have to do
Mm.
something solo. So I feel like the fact that the Baka tribe, like even the people who are weaker, I feel like still look like they're decently strong. Like that'll be a positive for them.
Yeah, and I think if the team separates by vibes, I could definitely see Sammy being voted out earlier because he's the youngest. Maybe he has less to relate to the other people on this team with. So if it's based off of like who can get along with who, I could see Sammy being voted out.
I could also see Mariah being voted out pretty early just because I feel like when it comes to strong personalities, and it seems like she has a pretty like strong out there personality, but when it comes to strong personalities, it's kind of like you either love them or hate them. And it could just be that like I think I mentioned in our cast assessment that like she could be like Marianne, where she's like super high energy, super like fun to be around, but that can also be really annoying when you're starving and hungry on an island. So
Definitely. I could see like Ellie, Gabler, Owen, and Janine forming an alliance. For Ellie, Gabler, and Owen, they're all from like southern states, but not really southern states. Ellie is from Utah, Gabler is from Idaho, and Owen is from Louisiana. So maybe they could have a bond there. Also, Janine, Ellie, Gabler, and Owen, they all talked about college, their education in their preseason interviews. So that could be something that they bond over.
yeah. So I think Sammy's the only one who I see as kind of like the odd person out. But if they're going by like keeping the tribe strong or whatever, I feel like he probably wouldn't get voted out just because he is like a younger, fitter guy.
Yeah, so it seems like we're maybe on the same page here where Sammy maybe not fitting in could go early, but also Mariah and Janine, if it's based off strength, they could go early. So I could definitely see Gabler, Owen, and Ellie here being pretty safe until merge, unless this team does actually suck and they keep losing.
Yeah, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, so next up we have the Coco tribe. I think this tribe, if they are basing it off of strength in challenges, I think Gio and Cassidy could be in trouble. I just feel like Cassidy could definitely be the first boot off of this team.
Yeah, I feel like in general, it seems like she doesn't really fit the vibes of everyone else. But I can't really explain it beyond just like vibes. It seems like she doesn't fit in.
Yeah, and I think if they lose 3 times after maybe Gio and Cassidy are voted out, then I could see Lindsay being in trouble. But Lindsay in her preseason stuff, even though she is the quote older woman of this team, she is very seemingly athletic. She likes doing all of these outdoorsy things. So that could save her a couple rounds as long as her team doesn't keep losing because there's other people that might be perceived as less strong.
Yeah, I do always wonder because it seems like the older women, regardless of strength, seems to get voted out first. Like there was a time when I forget which season it was on, but Katarina Radke was the
Hmm.
first boot, and it's like she's literally was an Olympic swimmer, and she was still voted out first. And so it's like, does it really matter if you're trying to be like tribe strong? Because I feel like an Olympic swimmer is probably stronger than most people would give her credit for. So
Yeah, HHH. So for me, this team, I could see the back row in this photo, James, Ryan, and Carla having an alliance. They seem probably the most safe. I don't see any of these three getting voted out pre-merge unless they do something that annoys the team or they do something really dumb that peeves people off and then they get themselves voted out. But I definitely see that back row there being a strong maybe alliance, but also just being 3 strong people that I don't think you'd vote them out pre-merge.
I am interested though because Carla said that she was like kind of nosy, like likes to be in other people's business, and I feel like that's also one of those personality traits that like in moderation it might be nice to have an ally who can like go and get the information from other people who like kind of knows what's going on, but it can also be really annoying if someone's like constantly up in your business. So I think personality wise it will be interesting to see like how much of that from Carla's like preseason interviews actually comes out on the islands.
Exactly. As long as James, Ryan, and Carla don't annoy people or piss people off, they should be fine, hopefully. I could also see Carla and Gio bonding. They are the only two people that talked about being LGBTQ plus in their preseason stuff. So maybe they bond over that.
That would be so much fun, especially because I believe Carla is wearing her rainbow earrings on the island. I can't see in this photo, but if she did, that would be great.
Yeah. So going last, on to the next tribe. We have the Vesi tribe. For me, I thought this tribe had the strongest women on it. I feel like, I don't know, Noelle and Justine are very athletic. So I felt like maybe those two for the women here are stronger than the other two teams of the three women.
I agree that Noelle is definitely athletic. I wasn't sure whether or not Justine was, but I don't know, because I feel like looking at her, you wouldn't say that she was like a super athlete, but I don't know.
That's the thing.
Well,
She talked about doing all these sports in her interviews, so we'll have to see. Maybe she was lying.
I mean, I don't think that she was lying, but I think that it's natural to maybe exaggerate certain aspects of yourself if you're going to be doing something like Survivor and you want to be perceived positively. So,
Yeah, exactly. Stretching the truth on your athletic abilities could be a thing. For this tribe, I could see NECA being in trouble, being the oldest woman, being maybe the least athletic person on this team. I feel like we said in the cast assessment, NECA seems too nice for this game. She says that she doesn't want to lie or cheat. So I could see her being a pre-merge boot here.
I think that maybe Cody could go first, just because, again, when we're talking about like needing to not annoy people, just the title of the first episode is kind of giving me alarm bells because, if he's showing off this live-in tattoo, I'm not sure how many people would actually be interested in seeing a stranger's ass tattoo. But
I want to see it.
well, Rachel, you're weird. No, I feel like that's one of those things where, like, within the first 3 days of knowing someone, maybe not. So,
I agree, though. For me, this team was the hardest to judge. I could see every single person of this six being an early boot, maybe besides Jesse. For Cody, like you were saying, in the cast assessment, he definitely comes off with a very, very strong personality, that hectic, chaotic energy. So I feel like he could be fine because he's a strong guy. People might want to keep him around for team strength. So maybe that's his saving grace here. But if he rubs people the wrong way, like you're saying, Alyssa, definitely that could be an early boot. For me, Dwight, I could see also going home early if he comes off too eager. He is 22, the youngest person on this team. So if he comes out like, I want to do all of this on my Survivor bucket list, day 1, 2, 3, he could get voted out early. Justine, if she isn't actually super athletic, then maybe she could get voted out early as well.
I feel like it's one of those things where this tribe I don't see as much like, oh, these are things they all have in common, or these are things that I think they would bond over. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. This one is harder to judge. It's like this is random six people versus like the other ones. Oh, Baka might bond over education and college. But these people I'm like, oh no, it's a hot mess already.
I wonder if like they made the other two tribes and then they were kind of like, oh shoot, we need to put everyone else on Vesi now.
Yeah, all of the people together. So I could see, like, even if they have stronger women with Noelle and potentially Justine, maybe this team just doesn't click well. And so their teamwork doesn't work. And then they could still go to tribal councils early, even if you have a strong team.
Mm-hmm.
So, any final thoughts, Alyssa, on the three tribes?
Not really. I feel like the biggest thought that I have that I want to emphasize is that it seems like these three tribes are really balanced. So I'm hoping we don't see like a runaway thing, just because I find that less interesting than balanced tribes. But yeah.
I agree. Seems like each team has those strong competitors, and then it has like the weaker looking competitors, which you never really know looking at these people's photos and hearing them talk about things, because maybe they are skinnier or look smaller, but they could be really good at puzzles or other things that makes their tribe keep them around longer. No one in their like preseason stuff said they really liked puzzles. I guess the closest would be, you know, liking chess, and that would be like puzzles kind of. So we'll have to see who the puzzle people are versus who are the more like brute strength people.
Mm-hmm. So let us know in the comments down below what you think of these three tribes. Which tribe do you think is the strongest? Which do you think is the weakest? Who do you think is going to go home first? Let us know all that and more in the comments down below, and we will see you guys next week with another video. Bye.